Should be. We're streaming now. Hey, guys. It is Sunday, November 17th, 2019, and we are live. Finally, huh? Finally, my brothers, as Jesse often quotes the Bible. Finally, my brothers, be strong in the Lord. And then the power, I say in the power of his might. That's how I learned it. But he said in the will of his might. Interesting. But this is the Hake Report. We are a few minutes, I should say, before live time, before like song time. But, you guys know me. I like to stream live, right? Hot Computer Smell is speculating about Earl. I don't want to repeat what Hot Computer Smell is saying about Earl. Hey, guys. So, I want to tell you guys about... Let me give you guys a quick news update until we go live, all right? The news update is, and you probably heard this, right? There was a Saugus shooting, right? Saugus High School shooting way up, well, not that far up, in Santa Clarita. Just up the 5 freeway over here, 405 to the 514, something like that. I don't know. I don't know exactly. But Santa Clarita. I've been up to Santa Clarita. Thank you, Hot Computer Smell. Who's fat? Oh. I shouldn't have repeated that. Anyways, there was a shooting. They left a 16-year-old girl dead, a 14-year-old boy dead, and when I say they, I mean he, this suspected shooter, this Asian white boy, on his 16th birthday. When will you find a nice little ginger woman? I don't know, Lucas. Good question, though. Thank you, Cold Burger Art. Brother Hake, I'm streaming on DLive, YouTube, not BitChute. I'm tempted to say BitChute, but I do have, we do auto-upload BitChute. Twitch, Mixer, Facebook.com/The Hake Report. Hey, guys. And, where else? Periscope, of course. What's up, Hammerstrand? And we are also, I'm going to be testing this. We're supposed to be streaming on audio feed. So let me just, while I have you, that boy died. The guy who killed the 2 people, he shot 5 people, then shot himself in the head up in Saugus High School. He died. Nathaniel Burhow. And his father was not around to know what his son did because his father died a couple years before. So I see Jesse Lee Peterson is streaming. Let's see what that sounds like. Oh, that's me. If you look for Jesse Lee Peterson on TalkStream app, then you'll see him. But it's actually me. And you should see me, though. Further down. Just going to look for it just to confirm that I am there. I don't see it. Huh. Seems to be some confusion. But you do see Jesse Lee Peterson. And if you see Jesse Lee Peterson after the 9 a.m. hour, that's me. And that is me Sunday through Friday on the TalkStream app. You see Rush, you see Mark Levin, Dennis Prager, Infowars, Blaze, Sebastian Gorka, Larry Elder, CNN, Mike Gallagher, Howie Carr, Fox News Sunday, Jesse Lee Peterson, Michael Medved, NPR, Hugh Hewitt. So this Jesse Lee Peterson is really me. So we are, it is going, and what you can do also, let me just, before we go forward with this, let me dial the number. Call 631-359-9067. That is the call-in line to listen to my show live Sunday through Friday, 9 a.m. 631. This is the TSL listen line. 631. And I'm going to put it on audio speakerphone. Is it going? What? Well, we'll fix that later. For those of you who are listening and not watching, I'm dialing the listen line to see if it's working. And it's saying currently offline. Okay, guys, we will address that I'll be talking to Bill. All right, guys. Let's go forward with this Hake Report theme song by AJ Gallardo. Thank you, AJ, the original. And we'll go forward with the show. It's a very interesting show, actually. Check it out.
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Hey guys, I'm James Hake. We're going to be talking about Trump, who is the one true civil servant, as opposed to all these other diplomats and people that want to pretend like they're civil servants. You know that that's not true. I know that that's not true, and so do they.
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Oh, yeah. So, what's up, guys? I'm James Hake, and you just saw a picture of me in my Russian hat, which is not even I don't even own a Russian hat, but it was a meme found on Discord. Show that picture again. So if you're watching the video as opposed to listening to the audio stream or audio podcast, you'll see a photograph of me. Well, it's actually a screenshot still of me talking on my show with the Hake Report logo there and the 888-775-3773. That's how you can call in. 888-775-3773. And I'm wearing it says Russia t-shirt. And then over my headphones, I'm wearing a Russian hat, and a Russian flag next to me instead of the American flag. That's funny. I don't even know who did this. Was it Tim? Was it Past, Present, Future? Past, Present, Future was the guy who did the Discord. He set up our Discord, the Jesse Lee Peterson Discord, Bond Discord, the Fallen State Discord, and Hake Report Discord. Thank you to Tim, also known as I almost said Hot Computer Smell, also known as Past, Present, Future. Thank you, Tim. I'm rarely on Discord because I'm such a boomer. I'm not a boomer. I'm more like Gen X, Gen Y, but it's like tough for me to get on there. But I want to start getting on Discord and want to be able to do like shows where I take calls from Discord, because some people do that. If you watch my co-hosting stint on the Ralph Retort, they were taking Discord calls. They had people on Discord. And it sounds so clear. It sounds like they're in the studio with you sometimes, if they have a good microphone or whatever and setup. Nazi Nick and Ruski Hake. Don't forget Puerto Rico. Let's get that Puerto Rican people behind Trump. Yeah, and I have already some super chats. Let me just go ahead and read some of these. Coldburger Art says, Brother Hake, thank you, Coldburger Art. Lucas says, here's some cash to take a ginger out for milkshakes. Thank you, Lucas. Appreciate that. D. Martin III, amen, James. David from Kentucky. Thank you, man. Marie Ubaldo, I think. Mari Ubaldo. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. You're always very supportive of Jesse Lee Peterson and Bond in my show. Thank you. Good morning, James. Here, a donation for Bond. And D. Martin III, something's wrong with YouTube. YouTube and Facebook, you may have noticed, they've taken a dive in their usability, the user interface. So, like, I'm looking at this super chat window, right? It compiles all my super chats, and I can't scroll all the way down to the bottom. It's so ridiculous. Oh, okay. He says, have a good day, James. Thank you, David from Kentucky. What I have to do is highlight the text, scroll all the way down, and then copy and then paste it into like the URL field or something to read it. Kevin Crater, make some white babies. In due time, maybe, hopefully. And see, this is ridiculous. I should take a screenshot so that you guys see me. Make some white babies. Make some white babies. Thank you, Kevin Crater. all their money goes into censorship now instead of tech development. Yeah, I mean, they're trying to make improvements, but in the meantime, it's making things worse. I think that they are legitimately trying to make some improvements, but they are doing censorship and all kinds of mess. So, dumb people. You have to be on the trigger reading the chat more. Yeah, but like I have so many different chats. Noah's Arkansas already gave, it looks like it gave a diamond. No comment though. Thank you, Noah's Arkansas and CC and High Plains Drifter, I think, and Hip Pocket 71 and Toxic Chat. Thank you guys. And I'm on Twitch. It's so cool. Although it would be cooler if Jesse Lee Peterson were allowed to be on Twitch without being falsely flagged for hate speech on his Monday through Friday show. Stupid Twitch. And Mixer, we're on Mixer. And Facebook. Let me just see what's going on with the Facebook thing. And then I'll get going with this show. Super interesting. So let me just talk here while I'm looking for this stuff. So people are calling these diplomats who have testified and these stupid, deep state people, career politician types, but they're not so much politicians as appointees or, working in the State Department, as though there should be like respected above other people or something. It's dumb. It's not, it's so plainly fake. And by the way, can you get any more phony of two people in the government leading this impeachment inquiry thing? As probably most of you know, President Trump is the subject of this. You want to call it impeachment hearings, right? But it's called actually impeachment inquiry hearings, led by two of the dumbest, fakest, phoniest people that you can think of in the government besides the blacks. And besides Maxine Waters. Nancy Pelosi, so phony. Such a career politician. Democrat. One of the most disgusting people that you can think of. And she's fake. And then, what's that guy's name? The guy with the small-necked guy, as President Trump called him. Adam Schiff. Both Democrats, both California Democrats, by the way. And Schiff is in charge of the so-called Intelligence Committee in the House. And he's leading this impeachment thing. Those two are the fakest of the whites that I can think of who are in the government. Can you guys think of anybody worse or dumber or less, with less... James needs a boo-boo, says Lucas. With less, believability. Because Adam Schiff was phony on that Russia thing. I didn't even really pay attention to what he said, but you just look he has crazy eyes. I get crazy eyes too, so I'm not pretending that I don't sometimes get crazy eyes, but he has crazy eyes. He's like this. And he's always like that. And so is Alexandria Cortez. And that's like a mark of a dishonest person. I'm trying to become more honest, so hopefully my crazy eyes are calming down, right? Or just a scared person. A scared person is a dishonest person, right? So these people are fake. And then you know who else was calling for impeachment? Impeach 45! Impeach 45! The most ridiculous person in the government, Maxine Waters. And pretty much all of the black politicians are jokes. They're entertaining to listen to, but they're not serious people, I've noticed. Especially the black Democrats, but also a lot of the black Republican politicians. Tim Scott pretending that racism is a real thing. And that guy Will Hurd calling Trump racist. Will Hurd is a Republican out of Texas who's not going to run for re-election because he can't take the heat. That's what I say. But Will Hurd is a egghead, mixed race. Google him. Google up a picture of Will Hurd, Hurd. Will Hurd. I just want to show you him because he's pretending that, I mean, he is like a Republican, so that's a little better, right, than a Democrat, I guess. Maybe not. But he's not running for re-election, and I'm glad, actually. There's a lot of these Republicans who are not running for re-election. And so people are saying that that's a bad thing for Trump. I don't think so. I think that he's getting rid of the chaff, because these people are chaff, as in weak. They're not real solid Republicans. They're not faithful to Trump or faithful to the American people. That's Will Hurd. Picture of Will Hurd, who's a Republican so-called congressman. He's mixed. I'm remembering what Jesse Lee Peterson's producer, referred to him as. By the way, Jesse Lee Peterson is back in town. Some of you probably checked out Jesse Lee Peterson's speech up at, what is that place? Content of Character series up in the Bay Area. I heard it was excellent. He'll be talking about that, I'm sure. And Nick was up there, and I heard you guys were asking about Joel and me. That's cool. Thank you. So anyways, let me get into this stuff for reals. So that's my point, is Trump is the real civil servant. These people are calling in these diplomats like Marie Yovanovitch. Marie Yovanovitch was that short-haired lady with the kind of reddish hair, but I think it's dyed. I don't think it's her real hair color. She's 61 or 65 or something. Marie Yovanovitch. She was in the State Department, even dating back to the 90s, late 90s. A career diplomat, and they call these people civil servants. No. She was served under Bush, as in George W. Bush. She served under Obama. And when I say served, I use that term very loosely. That's just like, that's what they call it. But she was a diplomat for various places. And Trump tweeted about her while she was testifying that everywhere she went, things got worse. And he mentioned Somalia or something, which I wasn't aware that she was in Somalia. But this is just an Obama ambassador. And according to reports, and I don't know this firsthand, of course, right? According to reports, she was against Trump, even kind of undermining Trump with Ukraine. And so, of course, she should have been fired. Don Jr. tweeted about her, said this Obama U.S. ambassador calls are increasing for her to be fired. And I think that Trump's cabinet and people are not on board with what Trump is really about. That's why that's another reason why it's tough to get stuff done. And then there were two other people that were just protecting themselves, really. I saw this guy, in the first impeachment inquiry hearing day, televised at least. These guys were all pre-interviewed in private, so that the Democrats knew for sure what they were going to be saying. Because they don't believe in real authenticity, real off the cuff, let's see what it's really about. No, they're protecting themselves. It's all rehearsed, basically. And that's what most politicians are, rehearsed, whereas Trump is not. And there's even guys that think that Trump is all about himself. He doesn't care about the country. I've talked to one of them, Donning Armour, out of California, thinks that about Trump, when in reality, that's the case for all these other rehearsed politicians who don't live in the moment, like in the present. He don't shoot from the hip, call it. Trump talks straight, but not so with these other people. You have, by the way, they have all this respect for these institutions, right? CIA, FBI. Those weren't even around when the founding fathers founded this country. Why do we have this fake respect for these people? CIA, FBI, all these people, according to like everybody, both the liberals and conservatives, both the blacks and the whites, know that these people, the CIA and FBI, stir up trouble at times. They're not honest people, necessarily. A whole bunch of them are liberals. The majority of them are liberals, anti-Trump people, pro-Hillary people. They donated it to Hillary at a rate of like 80, 90% or more, as opposed to the Republican in the 2016 thing. There was a report in The Hill about that, of all places. The Hill is pretty liberal itself. There's this phony respect for these establishment institutions that have nothing to do with our freedoms, but only to do with shenanigans. And yeah, I mean, I guess you can say they do some good things, I guess. Somebody has to investigate, but they don't investigate the right things for the most part. Look who was in charge. I made this point before. Look who was in charge of the FBI at one point, James Comey. Why would you respect him enough to put him in charge of anything? He turned out to be a fake, a wimp. Oh, by the way, one other quick note about these impeachment inquiry hearings. All you hear is emotional words. The whistleblower was alarmed at what he heard. And the other person that he talked to was alarmed at what he heard about Trump's phone call with Ukraine. Alarmed? That's just an emotional word. There's no factual stuff that's going on. Fear. Oh, the officials feared that Trump's call transcript, if it got out, could be damaging. Damaging politically only because Democrats are going to spin it any way that they can. And the rhinos too. And the establishment people. Because Trump is upending the establishment. That's his real so-called crime, is upending the establishment. Oh, and then when Trump tweeted about Marie Yovanovitch, who is Obama's ambassador to Ukraine, before he fired her finally, in 2019, I forget when it was. But she called it intimidating when Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, read Trump's tweet to Yovanovitch about, everywhere she went, it was bad. And it was, the president has the right to fire people. These ambassadors and diplomats serve at the president's pleasure, meaning he has the say on who gets fired, who stays, and all that. Although his cabinet does undermine him and slows things down. So she called that tweet intimidating, those tweets about her intimidating. So he tweeted, she's in the middle of testimony, and then Adam Schiff thinks it's a good idea to interrupt testimony and read this. And then you have establishment guys, so-called reporters, saying, oh, Trump just added another article of impeachment in real time. No, he didn't. He's calling out who she is and what she is. He's saying his side of the situation. So the so-called whistleblower was alarmed. John Bolton didn't like what Trump was doing in Ukraine. Isn't that a good thing if John Bolton doesn't like something? Most of the liberals don't like John Bolton. Most conservatives don't like John Bolton. The only people that like him are the establishment. And the only reason they liked him being in there with Trump was he was an establishment guy. And I guess they like war or something. I don't really understand that whole situation. But he was kind of like a war hawk, was another thing. That for some reason the media seems to like when Trump bombs Syria, for example. That's like the only time that they ever talk positively about Trump is when he bombed Syria. And so it's dumb. These people are phony. The Wicked Witch of the West, Maxine Waters, is the top of the phony ones. And she was calling for impeachment since forever. And finally she's getting her wish. But I don't know. So I was thinking about Donning Armour from California's comment that Trump is only about himself. I don't know how he figures that, to be honest. You could say that about any other politician, but not so with Trump. Trump's not even a career politician or a diplomat or a career deep state person like these people are. So I have some good news about Trump and about what Trump has been doing. I heard, and I saw it in headlines, that President Trump pardoned so-called war criminals, which is a good thing. Americans who were accused of so-called war crimes. And one of them I've reported on a few times. I think his name was Eddie Gallagher or something. But these political and spiritual, like female-minded people have been, including the Obamas, have been hamstringing our military and getting our military guys killed. Joan Crawford says, you're a disgrace to this nation. Referring to who? Obama? referring to what's her name? Maxine Waters. I don't know Joan Crawford, but he has been standing with the military. Trump has, and that's a good thing. Obama had more people dying under his presidency in Iraq and Afghanistan or something like that, overseas, these overseas things, because of his crazy rules of engagement that were hamstringing the military, preventing them from doing their job, kind of like what they did to the police, where they can't even do their job because lest they look like they're doing something, profiling or something, or targeting innocent people. Dumb. So then Bush had fewer military deaths of our guys as maybe not so good as Bush was. Obama was even worse. And Obama pretended to be like, a pacifist or pretended to be like, he's not going to rush into wars. But he got our guys killed. And Trump has stood with our guys. And Obama also put the gays, he repealed the don't ask, don't tell thing, which we shouldn't have even, it should have been ask, tell, and kick out. But Clinton instituted don't ask, don't tell. That's when he started to let the gays in. Because before that, gays were not allowed in the military, I think. And then he said, don't ask, don't tell. So he let the gays in as long as they stay quiet about it. And then by the time Obama came around, we got to get rid of don't ask, don't tell. That's discriminating. And so now you're celebrated if you're a so-called gay veteran. A whole bunch of these guys, gay veterans. Pete Buttigieg. And that guy, Rob Smith. And others. And then they have like transgenders in the military. Trump repealed that one. Or the Trump administration did at least. So that's good. Because that's the only sane thing. You don't want transgenders serving in the military. So I'm so glad that men who do things that are I don't know if that was the right thing, they're getting leeway. They're getting presumption of innocence, basically. Well, no, they're getting convicted, but there's 3 guys that Trump has pardoned. One was Eddie Gallagher, I think was his name. Another was another guy, and another was another guy. And they did some things overseas. The liberals and some of the intellectuals who don't do men's work thought that it looked bad, so they prosecuted them and maybe convicted them of different things. And who knows what the truth really is. Trump has pardoned them, I believe. So that's so good. Because this is part of the reason why I'm against cops having body cams. Part of the reason I'm against cops having body cams and all this film the police stuff is because, yes, there is bad stuff that happens to men, especially when there's a so-called domestic dispute between a man and a woman. They arrest the man usually instead of the woman, even though the woman's usually the one who's wrong and not the man, but sometimes the man's wrong too. But they arrest the man and let the woman go, stuff like that. Yeah, there's stuff wrong like that. But there are all these things like so-called police brutality, which is not real. But when cops do stuff, it's a man's job doing what they're doing, and it doesn't look exactly pretty. It doesn't look gentle, and it's not supposed to be honest. But the people, the lay people who don't really know the man's job, they think, that looks terrible. But it looks worse than it really is. It's like some of their tactics are necessary. But they're not given that leeway. And as society gets more and more weak and feminine, these guys, when they see these videos of these cops doing these things, you saw my interview with Andy Ruther, who's the liberal, I call him liberal. He's libertarian, whatever he was, the comedian guy, the white guy, the previous guest that I had. Talked about all these videos of cops attacking blacks and stuff like that. The human beings, the people who are not cops and the liberals and the intellectuals don't have a solid place to judge these cops' actions. So showing the video of it isn't going to help the situation because Sane people who are objective and not emotional are going to look at it and not cast judgment on the cop. But the emotional people, of which more and more are going to judge the cops. Same thing with this rules of engagement and these military guys. I'm glad that the guys are getting more leeway and that Trump is on their side. That's so nice. When you see men's work looks brutal to the faint of heart. Even when Jesse speaks against anger, some people misinterpret what anger is, so they judge Jesse or Trump when he deals strongly with people. Or they probably even judge Jesus when Jesus Christ, when he dealt strongly with the people. They thought, oh, he was angry. No, he was being a man. Please. And you'll always get some Trump hater who's in the military pretending to have righteous indignation about these pardons. And I don't have the details of who he pardoned. I apologize, but I'm just so glad that he did it. And I trust him. I trust his judgment. But these guys who are in the military, some military source, NBC or somebody quoted some military source, some guy who's supposedly in the military or previously in the military, claiming that Trump is undermining rule of law and respect for the military process and all that stuff by issuing pardons, presidential pardons. But excuse me, the president by law, has the right to issue pardons. And these pardons are way better than the Obama pardons. The people wanted Obama to pardon cop killers and black radical socialist communist activists and all these disgusting dumb people. I'd rather the president pardon a military guy who maybe he went too far, maybe not. Heat of the moment type of thing. But he's served in the military and he did right overall. It's a war zone. You can't call every little indiscretion, maybe it results in a person's death, a war crime, because people die in wars. And the establishment is what got our military in these wars. Now they're complaining that the guys are doing what men do in war. So they're pushing us into these wars, but not allowing us to fight them to win. So it's about time we don't pardon like the scum of the earth people. Oh, one more thank you to Trump. Thank you to President Trump for not allowing any of these so-called refugees into our country. Shout out to Bub's Love for this tip. I retweeted I think it was Daily Mail or something, tweeted about this. Last month, I think that would be October, I think. President Trump, under the President Trump's administration, they allowed zero refugees into the country. At least that's what the report says, the headline. Isn't that so nice? It would be nice if we could get back to zero, like push the Ilhan Omar, who is a refugee, and other people back to their homeland. That would be so nice. But no, we have to deal with these people. They're in the country. They should go back, but they're not. And I have some no thank yous. Not about Trump so much, but about, I'm laughing because I'm thinking about Taylor Swift. No thank you to Taylor Swift. I'm so happy that Taylor Swift is going through trials because she has spent the first years of her career acting like she was this classy girl, country music, pop country music. For those of you who don't know, Taylor Swift is a white girl in her like 20s, maybe 30 by now, I don't know. Probably Joel's age, maybe. Taylor Swift. And she had these pop hits, and I used to hear them on commercial breaks of your favorite radio show, the Jesse Lee Peterson radio show. My show is a live show. It's not a radio show. Yeah, Love Story, You Belong With Me, whole bunch of songs. I really liked her song Mean. One day I'll be living in a big old city but all you're ever gonna be is mean. She's 30 next month. Such a shame. So she was even loved by the whites. The whites thought she was an Aryan goddess, and they would attribute false quotes to her as, defending whites and defending free speech and stuff like that. But it turns out, no. She's touting so-called Nashville or Tennessee values, and these Tennessee values are anti-Republican, pro-abortion, pro-LGBTQIA stuff. She's gotten more and more and more corrupt, while Kanye West has gotten better. Well, I don't know. Maybe. But she had a real run-in with Kanye. And I'm more taking Kanye's side now. I don't know. But anyways, this Taylor Swift woman seemed to be like classy almost. Didn't really get involved in politics, but then all of a sudden she threw all that away, posted on Instagram endorsing some liberal woman over a conservative, well, not even necessarily that conservative of a woman, but over a Republican woman. And she went after she kissed up to the radical homosexuals, which means she doesn't care. She doesn't have any love for anybody. She doesn't have any love for the LGBTQIA people. If she did, she wouldn't endorse that stuff as right. She wouldn't be defending so-called LGBTQ rights. So it turns out that her earlier catalog, the good songs, well, I mean, even her newer songs, I don't know about the most recent, but some of them are, catchy, nice songs, I guess, pop songs. But no, this guy, what's his name? Scooter Braun has bought her catalog. He bought the rights to her by catalog, I mean like her older songs. And so that was cool. And then so what she was going to do was she was going to re-record those songs so that she would own the new versions of the old songs. But I saw this headline that was so funny to me. I saw it in Drudge. I haven't read it. But this guy, Scooter Braun, who's, liberal versus liberal, let's be honest. But Scooter Braun at least didn't betray us all by pretending like he was removed from politics and then speaking out against good people, the South. So now, according to this Drudge headline, she can't even play her songs. She can't even play her oldest songs because she doesn't have the rights to them. Isn't that so funny? I don't know. I just think it's really funny. So, anyways, if you had any love for us, James Hake, you wouldn't be killing us with this. All right. I'm done. I'm just making fun of Taylor Swift. I just think that she should not have done that thing with the politics thing. And maybe this is, it's not karma. Karma is a liberal word. Karma is like a new age word. It's you reap what you sow. She's smeared the good people of Tennessee, and then she's having a tough time. I'm going to talk about Colin Kaepernick in a second, but not right now. I want to tell you guys about Jesus. Don't laugh. James Hake talking about Jesus. Well, I was Joel's laughing. I think Joel laughed. I was reading from Matthew just a little bit, Matthew 5-7. I recommend it. I think they call it the Sermon on the Mount, something like that. It starts with the Beatitudes. Oh, Joel, I got to give you these pictures. I took some screenshots. And people, because I've cited Jesus as having said things, right? And some of these things that he said have been very interesting. And so I'm just dragging these things in. I'll let you know when I drag them. So I told you guys that Jesus called people evil, normal people evil. And I talked about how he said, you being evil know how to give good gifts to your children. So isn't that interesting? And then I see this this quote from, this comment from a listener. I'm blanking on this listener's name, but he comments on my shows sometimes. And he said, "Come on, James." He was talking about the teachers of the law being evil. Cut us goys some slack. Goys being a term for non-Jews. But no, he wasn't just talking about the teachers of the law. He was talking to his disciples. So let me read you this quote. I've dragged it in, Joel, I think. But you may not see this particular quote. But here's the beginning, I think, of Matthew 5, right? It's a book in the Bible. It's in the New Testament. Quote from the Bible. "And seeing the multitudes, he," being Jesus, "went up on a mountain, and when he was seated, his disciples came to him." See? Disciples. "And he opened his mouth and taught them." And then the whole rest of chapter 5, 6, and 7, I think, are Jesus telling his disciples stuff. Isn't that interesting? So, okay, I think you may have this one. It's called Love Your Enemies. Let's see. Yeah. Wow, you found it faster than me. So Matthew 5:43 through 48, Jesus says, "You have heard it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy," which is what most people do, right? "But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and the good, and sends his rain on the just and the unjust." Isn't that interesting? It's kind of like what Jesse preaches. Forgive and love your enemy. "For if you love those who love you, what reward is that to you? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet your brothers only, what," as in, that one guy who says, I'm his white brother. "What reward do that have you?" Whatever, something like that. I just butchered that quote. "And if you greet your brothers only, what do you do more than others? Do not even the tax collectors do so? Therefore you shall be perfect, just as your Father in heaven is perfect." Isn't that interesting? Jesse Lee Peterson quotes this verse all the time when Jesus told the people, his disciples, "Be perfect." And isn't it interesting that it's in the context of don't hate, love everybody? So, some people in the alt-right, by the way, I think they're alt-right, think that these quotes about love your enemy is a Jewish ploy to make white Christians be nice and accept their own destruction. Because they misconstrue what love actually is, right? So that's false. These people thinking that that's just a Jewish ploy. And, by the way, I remember Jesse asking Ben Shapiro if he loved President Trump. And Ben Shapiro says, "No, that's a Christian thing. I don't have to love everybody." Just a side note. But that's what they think. They think that that's love means just being nice and rolling over, letting people kill you. Even turning the other cheek, they think that that's a false thing. That's why a lot of the people in the alt-right are rejecting Christianity, because they don't know what actual love means, nor do most of us. But the people who have loved Jesus, Jesse Lee Peterson, Trump, those guys are not pushovers. Yeah, Jesus let himself get crucified, but he's supposed to. He stood on principle to the death. Anyways, here's where Jesus, as in Jesus Christ, he calls people evil. And he calls his disciples evil because he was talking about his disciples. Matthew 7. You may have a hard time finding this. Oh, nice. You found it. Matthew 7, starting with verse 7 through 12. He says, "Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives. He who seeks finds. And to him who knocks it will be opened. Or what man among you, if his son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if his son asks for a fish, what father would give him a serpent?" Isn't that funny? If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? Isn't that so nice? He called them evil, but know how to give good gifts, and that's his people, his disciples. Therefore, whatever you want men to do to you, do also to them. For that is the law and the prophets, or this is the law and the prophets. That's like supposedly the golden rule. Do unto others what you would have them do unto you. Or Jesse says, do not do unto others what you would not have them do unto you. I think that's the older, more classic saying. But regardless, he says they're evil. And he wasn't just talking to the teachers of the law. He was talking to a bunch of his disciples or people who wanted to listen to him. All people. And he wasn't just talking about Jews. Just FYI. So yes, the goys are included among the evil until those of us who are born again, right? Until somebody is born again. I just thought that I would share that with you. I have one more. This is also from Matthew 7. Because I was listening to, that's so nice. That's the highlighted thing. If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more your Father, meaning God. Ha! So I have one more. I don't know if I gave this to Joel. There it is. So Jesus spoke with authority. Here's this quote from Matthew 7, starting with verse 28 and 29, right? And so it was when Jesus had ended these sayings that the people were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority and not as the scribes. Isn't that so nice? That's just and I got this from New King James Bible. Don't be hung up on the versions. I just use the version that I came across. Leave me alone. Because there's a lot of people that want to get hung up on which version you're supposed to be used. King James only. Leave it alone. Jesus spoke with authority, not like the scribes. And the scribes are like the scholars, the people that memorize the Bible and recite it all the time. The intellectuals. And isn't that so nice? Like, Jesus spoke with authority. Trump speaks with authority. Jesse Lee Peterson speaks with authority and not as the intellectuals. That's so nice. It just reminded me of that. And so what made me think of this, I mean, I do reference this a lot. I say he speaks with authority. But what's going on? Phones. I see ringing and then hanging up. Anyways. This is what I think of when... Okay, thanks, Dylan. This is what I think of when I hear Donald Trump talk or Jesse Lee Peterson talk. So you may recall Jesse Lee Peterson interviewed Bill O'Reilly, who's a pretty good journalist, like honest guy. Fair-minded. Catholic, Roman Catholic since birth, Bill O'Reilly. And he wrote a book called Killing Jesus, which was very historical, just the history. Non-religious, right? And one of the reasons why Bill O'Reilly, formerly of Fox News, now has his own thing. He appears on Newsmax sometimes. And he appeared on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. Check it out if you haven't. He believes that the reason, he was like, how did one guy become who was a stonecutter, right? Don't get hung up on the stonecutter versus carpenter thing, but that's what he said, right? Just leave it alone. That's not the point. Who was a stonecutter or carpenter, whatever you want, from Nazareth, which is like supposedly a nowhere place, become the most famous person in the world who ever lived? Isn't that a good, interesting question? So Bill O'Reilly thinks that it was because of his miracles. And yeah, I guess you could say that. But I think that it was because he spoke with authority. Because look at this. They were astonished because he taught as one having authority, not as the scribes, not as the intellectuals. I like to use that word. Because intellectualism is a trap. So I think that it was how Jesus spoke with authority, his realness. the way that he lived his life. And yeah, the miracles too, but a lot of people talk about, oh, is this miracle, that miracle. It's hard to confirm. Because even nowadays, people say that such and such miracle happened. But look at the loyalty that real men inspire from when they're real. The people who listen to them are very loyal to them. Jesus' followers very loyal to the death. Donald Trump supporters, most of them very loyal. Jesse Lee Peterson's supporters, a lot of you guys very loyal. And that's because they're real. They speak with authority. People really love these men until these people get mad at them, and then they betray them. Some guy got mad at Jesus, betrayed him, or they got scared. Right? They weren't true. They weren't strong yet. People get mad at Jesse or disagree with him on one thing, they betray him. People get mad at Trump about one thing, they betray him. Okay, I understand that. But still, like, the support is very fervent for these people because they're real. And it's not because, I don't know. It's not necessarily because of the miracles, I think, that Jesus, I think it's because he was a real guy. Jesse will frequently have these woman at the well moments where people will wake up, they'll suddenly see, he'll just strike up a deep conversation, or just a shallow conversation, it'll get real deep. Jesus met this Samaritan woman at the well, and he struck up a deep conversation with her. And she was like astonished. And he knew some things about her past, I guess, or he picked up on it, I don't know. But he did know like how many men she'd been married to. But he was also citing principles and truth. It's so nice. And same thing, you'll hear Jesse telling these stories, or if you hang out with him, you'll witness like his encounters with people. Even like in church, you see it all the time. And on the radio show, people like, they really take heed to the very simple, basic points that he's pointing to. And like they suddenly wake up and finally they get it. Oh, I'm an individual. Actually, you want blacks to be responsible. That was one of the recent stories Jesse talked to this guy who was 29 or so. So I just thought that was so interesting. I just wanted to voice my disagreement with Bill that it was simply Jesus' miracles. I think it was how he really was that made him inspire the Christian religion, even though a lot of Christians have taken a dive in their realness themselves. So I'm going to get to some calls, and then hopefully I'll have time to get to Colin Kaepernick, who tried to he tried to have a little tryout, but he got mad at the NFL and like changed his location where he was going to have his tryout thing. Colin Kaepernick being the guy that hates America and hates white people, even though he's raised by whites and half white. And he's a horrible person. I mean, he's a lame person, right? Which is horrible. Weak people are evil and bring in a lot of evil into the world. So don't be weak, guys. But maybe I'll get to that. Maybe I'll have to wait. But let me get to some calls. Raphael out of San Gabriel Valley, California. How are you doing, Raphael?
Hey, what's up, Hake? How you doing, man?
Doing fine. How is SGV? That's where I'm from.
It's nice and sunny and beautiful weather, just like it is most year.
Nice. Appreciate your call. What'd you want to say?
The rent's so high, huh? Hey,
Yeah.
Well, basically, I love what you're doing. Everything. This Kaepernick guy, hasn't he made enough money to exchange his U.S. dollars into some other type of currency and get out of here?
Yeah. He got
what I mean?
He got a settlement from the NFL because he sued them for colluding against him not to hire him because he was trouble. Everybody knew he was trouble. He was stirring up trouble.
Right. It's their prerogative to hire or not hire whoever they want.
Yeah, but they gave him money anyways because they're kiss-ups. Such a shame.
Yeah, well, the NFL should be ashamed of themselves for paying him anything.
Yeah.
And also, Kaepernick should be ashamed of himself for using this whole dilemma with America, the crisis, and taking a knee and all that is just it's not. He says he's doing it for everybody who isn't in his place. That's a bunch of crap. I think that he's actually doing it just so that way he can make, a better name for himself with the liberals and make money off of that. And at the same time, he plays football. So the other side, what's good about the conservative side, what's respectful about our side is that we respect, him for having his own opinion and everything. But whenever you go ahead and you want to blast it and you want to talk, bad about somebody's country, we also have our opinions too, and also our own right to say what we want about what he's doing.
Yep.
And what I think we should do is we should just boycott, anything having to do with Kaepernick at all. Anybody who's a real conservative and a real man of God should just boycott people exactly like him.
Yep.
Because they are the reason why the fabric of society is becoming weakened.
I don't think that they're the reason, though. I think they're the symptom.
Well, yeah. They're a symptom. The reason why the fabric's being weakened is because, we start at the center of the family where we allow people to, basically go out and, portray, your family as something bad. Like, you could tell whenever someone comes from a good family by the way they act.
Yeah.
By the way they go out and they conduct themselves. And you can tell whenever someone might not come from such a good family because of the way they act and they conduct themselves. They could be rich, they could be poor. I've seen both.
Yep. Very true, man.
Little rich kid act like a little, and then I've seen little poor kids act really great. And so I'm like, okay, so somebody's raising those children right, and someone's not raising that other child right. It doesn't matter how much money you have about how you raise your child, but then you go and let your child just do whatever. You've seen those kids before in the market and here and there where they just do whatever they want. The parents right there almost like ignoring their child on purpose because they have no control over the child. Usually it's the mother. And they let the child do whatever. Well, that kid grows up thinking that that's the way life is, that you can just, even though there's authority there, I don't care about authority. Oh, you want me to do this, nanny. And, well, that's what and if you go and you look at the liberal protests, what do you see? You see a bunch of kids in adult bodies doing a bunch of kid stuff, and, they never had any parents to tell them, hey, you can't do this because this is making us look bad, and I'm going to tell you why it's making us look bad.
Yeah.
And really make them think about it.
I've blamed Kaepernick for turning these kids, inspiring these 8-year-olds and stuff like that to kneel for the anthem and disrespect the country. But that's Kaepernick.
And also, you got to include and to not like Trump. Yeah, that's his objective.
Kaepernick is
against Trump, which is everybody's little also footnote. It's like on everybody's footnote. It's sad.
Yeah, I know, man.
President.
He is a bad example. He does set a bad.
The greatest person on the planet right now. He has the greatest position on the planet.
Trump is. Yeah, I know. But Kaepernick does set a bad example. But but if the parents weren't so pathetic, none of the kids would be following him. They would just know that he sets a bad example. So that's a shame. I appreciate you, Raphael.
Yeah, same here.
All right, take care, man.
Have a good one.
You as well.
Good luck.
KT out of DC. KT, how are you doing?
Hey, James. Good. How are you?
Fine, man.
Good. So, you are so right about, I know I've heard Jesse say this numerous times about, when someone's angry at you, they'll just turn against you.
Yep.
My sister actually introduced me to Jesse's show a few years ago.
Wow.
And, she was all into Jesse.
Uh-huh.
Until she heard Jesse talk about the Bible and saying the things he says about the Bible.
Right.
She completely, made a whole U-turn and she was like, I'm not into him anymore. She's like, oh, he doesn't believe in the Bible. He's not a real Christian, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
And I figured she was into Jesse because, he was bashing blacks. I put that in quotes.
Right.
Bashing blacks. She enjoyed listening to that, but in actuality, it's really not bashing blacks. It's just giving he's giving them advice with a lot of love.
Right.
But that's what she enjoyed to listen. And the moment she heard him talking about the Bible, she just like made a quick U-turn, and yeah, that's very that's amazing.
That is a good point, man. It's funny that you come across these blacks that it's like they hate black people, so they enjoy hearing that stuff, but they're Christians, and then they'll turn on the one living out the true Christianity for not following along with their false imitation of Christianity, and that's such a shame. It's such a shame to see. But hey, that's the way that the world is.
And, it's so amazing when James, it feels so good to be awake and just see the truth. It's just so amazing how much you can see when you meet someone, right? It's just so amazing how much you can see the truth in them.
Yeah.
Or you can even see the lies in them. It's just amazing. And
yeah.
It's also, and I've noticed that a lot of people in the fallen state also have that. They have that connection with other people in the fallen state. They can tell certain things. They can tell certain things about, other people who are in the same situation they're in. But someone who's not in the fallen state can see, sees things differently, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, that is true, man. It's like people are living in their own world, and they have two completely different worlds set up in America, even. Where, for example, this whole Russia thing, you have a whole, like, half the country, it seems like, almost, believing this Russia thing, and then and this Trump thing, and then the other half of the country can see that it's fake, can see right through these fake, phony people. It's so interesting, and you just can't make people see, and you just can't.
So great thing you brought that. You brought that point about Russia. So yes, last night we had a birthday party for my mother, and we had this big group of family members, and all of them were just like a good number of them were like super excited about the impeachment, about the whole quid pro quo thing, Ukrainian thing, and it was just amazing. I could see them. They kind of look like shit, like blind sheep, just getting excited over nonsense, and it's so amazing that I could see that, but, they couldn't see that,
Yeah, he said sheep, yeah. Joel, he said sheep. I appreciate that, KT. You're so right, man.
That's the black in me. That's the black in me.
Man, yeah, it's true. People are really blind, and I think that the only way, I think that's why people like Jesse and Trump, who are not intellectuals, are able to be instrumental in people waking up, is that because they're real, they're patient, they're loving, it causes people to pause and have to look at themselves. It's nice. And then they take a second look, and wow, it's eye-opening. It's cool. I appreciate it, KT. Nice to hear from you.
James, great show. Keep up the great work.
All right. Take care.
All right. Take care.
Zachary Morris on Facebook says, what Cap, as in Kaepernick, did to the national anthem was far greater than just disrespecting this great country. It was Satan at work on a level we can't even imagine. It is damaging to those Christians who are afraid to pay respect to the flag because they fear it might be seen as, in God's eyes, as an idol. Oh, interesting point, man. Yeah, people get suckered into all this nastiness. Dylan thinks it's a little dramatic. I appreciate you guys. Let me read a few more super chats. Crystal K, thank you. Cody Snyder, free super chats from YouTube. Wow, awesome. Cody Snyder, thank you. And let me just make sure. I can't tell. I feel like there must be another one down there, but I can't reach it. Thank you to the super chatters, and shout out to Noah's Arkansas, CC, High Plains, I think it's Drifter, Super Dave is always there, Luba Nation, Hip Pocket 71S, or 71s, and Toxic Chat. All right, thank you guys. Make sure you tune in to Church with Jesse Lee Peterson, which is every Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or Pacific Time, which is 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, which is noon Mountain Standard Time. All right? See you guys. Rebuildingtheman.com/church.